Get started. Roll call, everyone present, Sarah? I move to adopt the agenda as presented. No changes, right?
Nope.
Second.
Becky seconds. All in favor? Passes 6-0. No public comments. I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Becky second. All in favor? Passes 6-0. Old business. We don't have any old business this time.
Not at this time.
New business.
So the OPA addendum, that is basically it's just our pricing for next year from OPA. We do this, you guys probably do this every May actually. So that has been sent off to KSD. Kind of what the process there is, KSD approves it, you guys approve it, then it gets signed by, well, if you want to approve it, I guess. You guys sign it, OPA signs it, we send the minutes from the meeting that says you guys approved it, along with the signed addendum back to KSD, and then the process is done. KSD still has it in their possession. They've had it for about a week. They have not finalized it yet, but I did get confirmation. She indicated just if you guys are agreeing to it, and it's on there for your reference, just to approve it pending KSD approval. I would tell you, I've done this with OPA. This is my 7th time. I mean, they know what they're doing. It's not going to get declined. I assume it won't. They know what they're doing. They fill it out correctly. So KSD recommended to go ahead and just approve it pending KSD approval. And then we'll just keep rolling with the process after that. And this, it is what their pricing is for next year. It, at this moment, does not impact your guys' meal prices in the district. Usually, I would assume we discussed that in July is usually when meal prices are set. So that's still to come.
Any questions?
I move to approve the OPA addendum pending KSDE approval for the 26-27 school year.
I'll second. All in favor? Passes 6-0. Non-resident student life support, list support, sorry.
Yes.
Student life.
That support is just, it falls under your guys' master plan. We have
Gotcha.
Support. So there's only one student that's listed there. That's the only one we currently have at this time. So.
Okay.
I move to approve the non-resident student as presented.
I second.
All in favor? Passes 6-0. Health policy update.
Okay, so your policy handbooks are getting ready to come. Of course, the principals will be sharing those in June with you. Stacy has updated the health policy. Actually, we met as administrative staff almost a month ago, I think, wasn't it? It was pretty close. And Stacy came in and kind of talked about it. And the only 2 things that changed in the health policy is it now specifically says instead of being gone 5 days, they no longer have to have a doctor's note in order to return to school. It used to say if they were gone 5 days, they had to have a doctor's note in order to be able to return to school. Not everybody's going to the doctor because some people are doing their own home test and such. So that took away the requirement that they had to go to a doctor just to get excused to come back to school. And then the other piece that's in there that's different, it used to say something in regards to if they had COVID, they had to be gone for 5 days. And really that's not the practice anymore. The practice is 24 hours fever free without the use of medication, and you can go back to school. So that's been changed to reflect really what's taking place currently anyway. So unless you guys remember anything, those are the 2 things we talked about in the health policy. Sorry, Shelby, I'm used to looking for you. It's not Trish over there.
I move to approve the health policy as presented.
Second. All in favor? 6-0. Reports.
Okay, we're starting with mine first. So first thing I'm going to talk about is a position that we're planning to transition into, which is titled the Director of Middle School Programs. This position is going to end up essentially replacing, we're no longer going to have a middle school, elementary school administrator. assistant principal, but this position is going to handle all the activities that go with middle school. It's kind of like the activity director did before. They'll still do most of those activities and help with some coverage in the evenings. This is something I did some research on. Smaller schools, this is a model that many smaller schools use, 2A schools, but they use it for basically their 7-12 athletic director. And typically what happens is it's a teacher who then has maybe an hour or two out of the day that has the ability to do some planning. And we do have some of our league schools for their middle school activity director, athletic director, they utilize this model as well. So I know there was some previous conversation about that position, and this is just the direction at this point that we're planning to go at this time. So it'd be called the Director of Middle School Programs. Anybody have any questions?
Sounds good.
Okay. Next thing, a school bus grant program. Just wanted to bring you guys up to date on that. I did have somebody reach out to me about that. It is an opportunity schools have out there, and it's something I was familiar with, although I hadn't looked into it recently simply because getting here and it wasn't just on my radar. But there is a bus grant program out there where you can get grant money from the state to help pay for buses. It's not going to work for us this year, but to tell you more about that program, prior to this year, they would help you with like 25% of the bus. But the bus that you are trading in or basically getting rid of would have to be decommissioned. Okay. There was some additional federal funding that we could get, or some federal grant money that was going to help pay for 75% of a bus. Well, I wasn't necessarily sure we were in the position to be buying a bus, but 75% takes the cost of a small bus down to your share being about $35,000 versus $140,000. So perhaps it would be worth looking into. Unfortunately, we don't qualify because some of the qualifications are your bus has got to be older than 2009. We do have some buses older than that. Some of the little short yellow buses, those are older than 2009, but it also has to be a diesel or electric bus. Our diesel buses are not that old, so they're not going to qualify. This grant program is really meant for buses that just really need to go to a junkyard because they have to be decommissioned. And I contacted the lady at the state and they're like, yeah, you got to knock a hole in the motor and cut the chassis. So wow. It's not a matter of, well, it's still drivable, right? Sell it to somebody else. Nope, it's got to basically go to the junkyard. So unfortunately this year and at this time, it's not a program that really we qualify for, but certainly something we'll keep in mind and continue to monitor and see if that's something that might benefit us in the future. I had not looked into one for diesel, but a couple of years ago looked into the electric grant, because they did have grants for electric buses that were very similar to this, but for us in Stanton County it just wasn't going to work because they didn't travel enough miles in a day. Getting them charged in the middle of the day was going to be a problem. So I don't know if have you guys ever had any conversation about electric buses here?
We haven't. We just bought the new bus last year. We ordered it last year.
Year before. Yeah.
So we had a discussion about the bus fleet then, but we had a bus that was having major operational issues. So, but
was that a school bus or a activity?
Activity bus.
Yeah.
Activity. Okay.
So, but no, I hadn't heard about this program. That's really cool.
Okay. Any other questions about that? Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, we went through our 6-month check-in for KISA. I know you guys have heard about KISA because we've talked about it a few times. So the administrators and I met with a lady from KSD, went through that. It's our check-in. We did our 6-month check-in, and really she just kind of wanted to gather more information about where we're at, what we're doing within our program. We feel like we are meeting our goals for our 6-month goals because the plan was to make sure everybody was trained for our curriculum alignment, and we have accomplished that. And then on top of that, having started working on aligning our curriculum. So we feel like we've met our 6-month goal. We have our 1-year goal that the administrators we've already talked about, that we're probably not going to be quite on track for that. And that's okay. We can regroup and take more time if we need to, but we're probably not going to get all of our curriculum throughout the district aligned within that 1-year time frame. And last fall, when we sat down and started writing this, we knew that might be a challenge, but that was certainly the goal we were shooting for. And we know October 8th next year is our school improvement day. where we will go back to SDAC and meet with, who was it, Pratt, Smoky Valley, and I think Bluestem, wasn't it? And those are the schools in our cohort. So that's kind of an update on our KISA check-in. Administrators, you guys were there as well. So anything I missed on that? That's it? Okay. Any questions on KISA? Okay. That's what I have for a report.
All right, perfect. Consideration of district personnel.
Legislative.
Oh,
I
well,
do have a legislative.
Oh, sorry, I
Sorry.
missed that. No, I thought you were like right into it. You don't get a legislative tonight.
Although, I mean, we've heard enough legislative stuff, and everybody might want to just skip it. But, so legislatively, they're done in Topeka, of course, now. We will continue to get feedback from KSD and KSB because, as always, when they have changes to the law, they try to help guide us through that. Usually when we go to like our budget workshop in June, they'll extensively go through the new stuff. The first one, I know we've already talked about a little bit, the cell phone bill that has passed. This last week on Thursday, I went to a workshop at SDAC. There were quite a few people there. There were probably 80 people that were there. Just getting more feedback, being able to collaborate with each other, ask questions. KSD zoomed in to try to give a little bit of better understanding of what to expect. They don't know perfectly yet either because it's just real recently. But the clarity I was looking for in specifics were, how do they handle like school activities during the day? Let's say basketball leaves at 2 o'clock. How does that apply? Because all of us have heard bell to bell, no cell phones. Now, so it is on school premises. So in the building, or if you happen to be a PE class that goes outside to the football field, that would count. There's not going to be allowed to have any cell phone access. But when it comes to traveling to a school activity during the school day, it is up to the school to determine if they want to write that into their individual policy. So once they leave our premises, this law doesn't necessarily apply anymore. So it would be up to you as a board to approve whatever policies put in place with you. If you want to say, no, we want to go ahead and keep that from bell to bell, even when they're throughout the day or when they go on activities, we're not going to allow cell phones to go on the activities, or we're not going to allow them to take them with them on a bus. That's completely up to you and not mandated by law. It's specifically within the building or on premises from bell to bell. Any questions about that specific clarity piece?
So just running scenarios. So middle school has it's like middle school, high school has an activity that's a home to the track meet starts at 2 o'clock or whatever. So does that technically count as our premise, or because it's our activity, it's an activity, does that fall into a gray area?
Very gray. So that specific scenario came up. So KSB, that they're still trying, the attorneys are still trying to make sure they fully understand it. But at this time, they would look at that and go, okay, Pratt came to our track meet. They are fine to have their cell phones, but because it's during bell to bell on our premises, our kids would not be allowed to have their phones. It's crazy how that is, but that's their interpretation of the way the law is written.
So we can't just make a bright line for school day and activities. There's a gray.
It doesn't sound like it.
Okay.
Yeah. Which, don't get me wrong, that everybody in the room's like, it sounds ridiculous, because I was actually seated at a table at Ellenwood, and they're like, well, I guess when you come over, your kids can come over to forensics and have their phones, but our kids won't. I'm like, yep, that's exactly what they explained to us. Sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But they at least answered the question. I know I'd spoken to a couple of the administrators about, what about when we leave early for an activity? So they cleared that up, but that particular piece of it doesn't make sense, but none of us got the opportunity to write the law either.
Right.
So, nor did they ask us for any input or advice. As far as possible plans, there are some examples that KSB threw out there. Some of you maybe heard there are pouches. They're called Yonder pouches, but I'm sure probably there are other brands out there that do this, where the student gets a pouch, they lock their phone up. they have to come to the office to get it unlocked. It takes a really strong magnet. That's a possibility. Not something KSB recommends, not something I recommend. Stanton County used it, but it's an option. Other things that have been talked about are collecting phones and keeping them stored safely and securely somewhere throughout the day, and students get them at the end of the day. It's nothing that's being recommended. It's just an option. Other things that have been discussed are just a complete prohibition of phones during the day. They're not allowed. And there's many other ideas that will probably come from conversations around this topic, but those are just some of the common ones that have already been heard that schools are utilizing right now. None of them are what I consider to tell you that's what we will come to you with a recommendation, but those are just some ideas of things that are already out there.
So I've got two things. One, we keep talking about cell phone bill, but two, when we're doing school supply lists, that'll have to be out well before September 1st because wireless headphones were specifically listed in the legislation. Did they talk about headphones?
Yeah, so the policy has to be put into place and we have to have it to KSDE by September 1st. The absolute intent is this will have to be rolled out before school. So I would anticipate this will be a policy you guys will need to approve by July, which means towards the end of the school year, the administrators and I will probably start talking about doing some research and talking about what types of directions and what kind of policy do we want to put in place to bring to you guys for a discussion. I'm not sure we'll have everything done by June, but certainly by July, something will have to be decided. I mean, you could get away with doing it in August, but that's too close to the beginning of school. So from a timeline perspective, you're probably going to have to shoot for have this done July. So now it's communicated out and we can start preparing and planning.
Did they specifically talk about headphones at all?
Oh, yes, specifically.
No wireless headphones of any kind?
Correct.
Okay, so we will have to change all of our school supply lists and make that like what headphones are allowed for
headphones,
school.
earbuds, anything that can communicate wirelessly.
Did they talk about Google Classroom?
Yes, and if it's monitored by the school, that would be okay. And my understanding it is because, I mean, you don't necessarily, but it's managed through the teachers. It's not.
Our entire Google is managed by USD 431. So
yes.
Any piece of
piece of Google Classroom.
Correct. Google Classroom is going to be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no Team Reach, no Remind Me, no band.
Correct. If they can have individual communication outside of anybody from the school monitoring those communications, will not be allowed.
Then students will not be allowed to have that. Okay. So
or you can utilize it with a teacher. So like I've used Band or Remind, if that particular app allows one-way communication that is not monitored by the school, it's not going to be allowed to be used.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
So we'll have to spend some time thinking and talking with our coaches and activities directors. So, okay.
Gracious.
Okay. But it can be used with parents still.
Sure.
With the locking up the cell phones next year, if a student goes to like an appointment or something, will they get their phone back and then they have to lock it back up?
Yeah. So if you were leaving at 10 o'clock to go to a doctor's appointment, you'll just check in, get it back. If you brought it, you can leave it in your car. But you get it back, go to your appointment, come back in, check it in, and go back to school, and then get it at the end of the day. Yes. Yeah. Good question.
Okay, with Remind, I know that it can be monitored by the school district because I've had to have our tech people pull conversations for disciplinary action and whatever else. So is there, are they just completely saying no to Remind, or?
They didn't specifically mention any of those by name. It's just, it's got to be monitored by the school so that if, let's just say, Mr. Mason, and what's your name? Caleb are having a one-way conversation, that it's being monitored by the school. It's not just a one-way communication back and forth between the two of them that's not being monitored by anybody.
But can't you use Remind as just a one-way, like
you can
send something out and nobody can respond to it?
So you can do an all-call announcement.
Right.
You can do a open conversation where you send it out and kids can respond, and you can do one way. In Oklahoma, they passed a very similar thing of no one-way communication. Remind was still allowed because it can be monitored by the school district, and it saves all the transcripts and it can be pulled.
Right.
And teachers do not have individual control of that. It's all monitored by the school district. So I know in Ponca City, we still were able to use Remind under the bill that got passed there 2 years ago, whatever it was. So I don't know how they're defining one way then.
Right.
So you would be able to,
They can't do
Yeah.
you can do a one-way announcement, and I did that all the time with my AP kids.
That would be fine if it's just a one-way announcement, because we do that anyway, sending out alerts and stuff.
The Remind world, from my understanding, is Remind is going away.
Oh.
The Parent Square bottom. So Parent Square is going to become the new, which will then be a purchased, managed.
It will no longer
That's
be.
what we had at Stanton County was Parent Square.
Yeah, my understanding is Parent Square
It's
is
cool.
acquired.
They were at our conference,
Mhm.
and Becky and I talked to
The
them.
same side, that's why I've
It
been
was a
using
cool
less to
Parent
do
Square.
tennis this year, because it's the same thing. It's a district managed piece. The elementaries already use it. It seems like an elementary program, but they say it is a K-12 for that managed piece. So there's multiple ones out there. I would just like to come up with a single one for the district.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, is this our opportunity to have a school sanctioned?
That's Mr. Mark and I already
Like-
started that conversation.
We started that conversation.
What?
See me over here going,
I just think it's gonna be easier if we can start them, whatever it becomes, whether, but from elementary up, we're using the exact same communication, and it's from teaching through coaching
Coaching.
through
Yeah.
everything, and a parent has one app.
That's what
Yes.
I don't want to coach to get in a position, because I know I'm confident that like all of our teachers and everything, but I know a lot of our coaches, like I don't want someone who's not Rule 10 or something that's not in the school district to get caught and have an issue. So
Right.
yeah, I think having one school sanctioned, that would be great. And as a parent who has a lot of app fatigue.
Don't need to add some more.
any other questions about the cell phone bill that I most likely don't know the answer to yet?
So when are they supposed to have it finalized? I mean, that's going to depend on when we can finalize our stuff.
Well, the law is finalized. KSB, the attorneys are still trying to fully understand.
Right.
They've already given us some guidance that they would recommend. I mean, if we develop a plan, we probably need to submit that to them and just let them give us some feedback
Gotcha.
as we're all trying to learn through this process.
Only other question I have is, will there be any changes to medical device forms that our students that have to have cell phones, like our diabetics and that have to have a cell phone to monitor blood sugars and stuff? Will we have to update any of the, did they talk about updating those forms or?
No, they didn't specifically talk about updating the forms. They obviously talked about if it's for a medical need, a 504, an IEP, whatever, that the
Then
law
that'll
doesn't
just
apply to
carry
that.
through. Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect. So if it already exists in their IEP or 504,
Yes.
then they're fine.
then it's fine. Yeah.
Perfect.
Anything else on that? Okay. Senate Bill 361, I don't know if you heard anything about that. It opted Kansas into the federal voucher program. So it's something we'll need to keep an eye on. I mean, it necessarily doesn't, the way it impacts us is we don't get any of those dollars. So we'll just see if it ends up affecting our enrollment or anybody else's enrollment for that matter, if parents choose to go that direction. Just letting you know that's out there, and it's going to be new for all of us, and we'll just have to see what kind of impact it's going to have as we move down the road. Another one, House Bill 2412, Civics Test Bill. That was vetoed by the governor and it failed. Joel probably heard a little bit of something about this. Maybe you didn't, that to have every Kansas student have to take and pass a civics test to be able to graduate, but that did get vetoed by the governor. And then House Bill 2534 requires schools to provide fentanyl abuse education and to maintain naloxone in all schools, and that did pass. So that is something we'll get with Stacy and make sure we're prepared to be in a position to meet that requirement.
I think we already didn't we do that?
At least for
Last year?
teachers, I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought we did. Make sure that.
Teachers and
somebody
admin.
started to
Yeah.
Get it trained on it.
Yeah.
Right.
You're trained by the hospital.
I don't know who did the
You
training.
guys
Do
just
you
watched
remember?
like a training video or something.
I don't remember, but I know that we had that discussion. Maybe Stacy.
If we could have like,
Mhm.
if we could have everybody get trained up by somebody at the hospital, that'd be way better than watching a video.
Joel, do you remember?
No, that's too much. They could always just have Stacy train the ones that need it.
That I
And
think
she
we
could get trained by somebody from the hospital and then get trained.
The training we took was online. So they come and talk to us administratively, maybe, but you can be trained in.
Tells them how to administer it.
You know, your signs on.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
That's all you got? Now we can go to the next thing? Okay. Consideration of district personnel. I move we go into executive session for
10, 15.
15 minutes
10 team.
pursuant to discussing non-elective personnel under the KOMA exception for the purpose of discussing nominations and resignations with Mr. Horn present. The open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 7:40, no, 7:30, what?
Did you did 15 minutes?
Yeah.
7:45. Just say that.
Okay,
Good
7:45.
enough. I second it.
All in favor? Passes 6-0. Oh, yeah.
Kaylee, did you make a good meeting?
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
There's a clock in the boardroom.
There is.
He's always got
Or
some.
back there.
Yeah, but it's like, that one's not.
So where it usually is, I noticed, and it sounded like I was talking to Sarah. He said it's just been a really, really busy day. So it sounded like it seemed like one of those days.
56 minutes.
All right, so we'll come out of executive session with the following resignations. I move to approve the resignation of Patricia Evans as the assistant middle school track coach.
Second.
All in favor? 6-0. I move to approve the following nominations. Kyle Haxton, Director of Middle School Programs. John Ross, Head High School Girls Basketball Coach. Carson Kinman, Summer Maintenance. Leighton Hoffman, Summer Maintenance. And Eric Crawford, Middle School Assistant Track Coach.
Second.
All in favor? Passes 6-0. And then I move to approve the supplemental list as presented.
Second.
All in favor? 6-0. All right, I move we go into executive session for
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
I always undershoot. You know that.
Pursuant to discuss the exception of employer and employee negotiations under KOMA to discuss negotiations training and negotiations letter information with Mr. Horn present. The open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 8:02. What do we say, 10 minutes? So
Yeah.
8:02. Becky seconded, all in favor? Passes 6-0. 8:02.
See you.
Yep, we'll see you guys.
Take care.
Okay, 8:02.
Although there's probably one that I'd get rid of.
I know.
She thinks she knows it all. She doesn't hesitate to tell them that she's an artery.
I don't want that.
20 years.
We need to go through that thing again.
All right, we'll come back out of executive session with no motions. I move to adjourn.
That's my
Oh,
job.
sorry.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second it. All in favor? Passes 6-0.
I'm just choosing.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thank you.